Hey, good evening, folks. Chase here in the weather office. Here we got one severe thunderstorm warning to talk about here, and again, I'm coming on here. We don't have any tornado warnings right now, and I don't see any real suspicious signs of rotation. But what I'm doing here is I'm just coming on here to reassure that at the moment, outside of this one warning in Bledsoe and Ray, at this very minute as I'm speaking to you here, things are good at the moment. Now, there are other thunderstorms moving in from Murfreesboro. They're basically going through the same areas. So, those of you down towards Chat and Jasper, North Georgia, Northeast Alabama, it's going to be a while before you get any kind of rain and thunderstorm activity. And to be honest with you, the longer this holds off for you guys down there, the better it will be for you. So, that's the good news here as we get later and later into the the nighttime hours here. We will begin to gradually lose that instability. So I do believe with time we should start seeing some weakening here. But at the moment, I want to focus on this one severe storm that we have in the area right now. So I want to stress this: the one you see on your screen with the orange/yellow polygon here. This is the only one in the entire area that has severe weather right now, and it's this gnarly storm that's right over Pikeville right now. Now it has weakened a little bit from what it was earlier. In fact, as it was in Van Buren and coming out of Warren County, it actually had a little bit of rotation in it aloft. And I actually legitimately thought for a few minutes that they were going to put out a tornado warning, so I had the live here ready to go for that. But thankfully, it didn't get to that point. But for a little bit of time, it did have a little bit of rotation aloft. But I'm not seeing that at this time. In fact, I'll actually show you the velocity on this. And this is just a very big area of strong straight line winds. Again, warning criteria is 58 mile an hour wind gusts. So this is likely producing 50 to 60 mile an hour wind gusts right over Pikeville. So those at the Smith County Bledsoe game, you need hopefully everybody's inside and away from windows, just making sure they're out of the way of this thing because a lot of wind, a lot of lightning, and that's the biggest thing also, the lightning here. You got to be away from that lightning. That's the most dangerous part. Now, I do understand there's also a game happening in Sail Creek, and it does appear that this is likely going to stay just enough north to where it shouldn't cause major issues. But if this cell here in particular, on down around Lee Station there in Bledsoe County, crossing over 127, if it does come a little bit farther south, then we may have to talk about a delay potentially down in Sail Creek. But at the moment, it looks like it's going to stay north of there and be more pretty much from, let's say, the north side of Dayton all the way up through Evansville and Spring City. So again, this is Bledsoe County, Tennessee here, Ray County, Tennessee right here for those that may be new to the area. And you see right here where you get these little brighter colors right here, just north of Pikeville here, north of Summer City there on the mountain. This is actually indicating some hail. Now, it's not large hail. It's not, big hail or anything. It's mostly dime to penny sized. The biggest thing with this is going to be those straight line winds and also the lightning. You definitely don't want to be out in this. So I don't want to forget about those of you in Van Buren because I know you just had a rough ride with this storm that's currently severe in Bledsoe, but you got another thunderstorm moving over your area right now. Not as potent as the last one, but it's still pretty strong. You got some heavy rain in here, some gusty wind, and it looks like in the southern end of the county, down by Baker Mountain Road, there might be some hail. Not large hail, but there could be a little bit of hail in that. And I will check this signature down here a little bit because you see it kind of hooks just a little bit there. Let's make sure that isn't trying to spin. And very broad, but again, that's more like a gusty wind signature, and plus a little bit of interference from that beam right there that makes it a little more menacing than it really is. So at the moment, this is mostly gusty wind as it moves right across 111 here. So basically, here's the intersection where you come out of Cagle and Sequatchie County. There's Highway 8, so you run that intersection right there. And you come north into Van Buren County. That's going to be the area where this thunderstorm is going over right now. And again, this is the second storm to the left of the severe storm that's out in Bledsoe. Another pretty decent cell here south of McMinnville, but that's non-severe too. Now this over here was severe out towards the borough and over towards Woodbury, but right now this one is actually currently non-severe, getting some hail, some gusty winds there, and that's going to move right back into the same areas as these severe thunderstorms have moved across. So what I can do here, and I'll show you my new storm tracking tool here in just a moment here, the updated one, but this is actually moving from west to east. So again, what we may have to watch out for up in here in this upper Cumberland area out towards Ray County, we may have to watch for flash flooding because these storms are training over the same areas over and over again. So that's something we're going to have to keep an eye on. So What I'll do here is I'm not sure of how fast a lot of these are moving. I'll have to double check. So what I'll do here is I'll actually put a track on this cell that's moving over a Pikeville here, and you'll see in just a moment here that I have a new little way I can storm track this. So here's the new custom draw path here. So what I'll do is I'll draw that and pretty much move it from west to east. And it's not going to be perfect here, but we'll do what it is. And it's moving to the east here. Let me get you the movement, 45. So we'll pop up the towns. And there's Decatur, so this will be in your area right around 8:50. Again, these are Eastern time. So the cool thing about this here is that it can actually switch from Central time. I have it on a mode where I can switch it from Central to Eastern time. So for example, if this was in Spencer, this would be an hour before this. So in Decatur, this storm will be near you at around 8:50, around 8:54 in Spring City, 9:01 10 Mile, Nyota at 9:08, and then Sweetwater around 9:14. Again, all those are in Eastern time. So again, that's the time frame on that complex. And what I'll do out here also is track this. Again, roughly 45 miles an hour on average. So that's pretty much the movement of all of this. So this is going to move something like this to the east, and I'll cover pretty much most of Spencer and all that in there. Hold on, let me do something else here. I'm going to have to change that up. It's not working the way I was wanting to there, so I'll just go back to the cellular mode. And we'll move that at about the same speed. There we go. 45 miles an hour. And that will be near Centertown at 8:11 Central, McMinnville at 8:22, 8:45 in Spencer. And again, this is from this complex right back here. So I know we got a lot of different storms here, but I'm tracking pretty much all of these here as they move from west to east across the upper Cumberland area. And now eventually with time, this will sink south. So what I'm actually going to do here is also show you the future modeling on what this is going to look like here in the future. So we'll kind of skip ahead here to where we are now. So we're approaching 8 o'clock. And not the greatest representation here it's showing, but you kind of get the idea. There's more storms will continue to pop up over the next few hours. As you see, eventually this will push south. So I do believe that those of you closer to Chattanooga and eventually North Alabama and North Georgia, you will probably end up seeing thunderstorm activity. But with the way I'm seeing things right now, it does appear it should be, quote-unquote, should be at a weaker state. Now, notice by midnight, and especially after midnight, things will wrap up pretty quickly. So once we get past the midnight hour, things will start wrapping up and fading out as we get closer to sunrise Saturday. And Saturday's looking like a warm day, and there may actually be some, maybe a few additional showers and storms south during the afternoon, but nothing really severe of note for tomorrow. And then we got that big cold front that's going to move through Sunday night into Monday. We'll talk about that later when this is out of here. But let's get back here to where we are right now. As far as the warnings and such are concerned, this, as I said, this is the only warning in the area right now. This is for Bledsoe County. So pretty much all Bledsoe and Ray County. Again, for 60-mile-an-hour winds and a quarter-sized hail, not quarter-sized hail, but penny-sized hail, I should say. Now, this, again, has weakened a little. It's continuing to drop off, at least in the intensity of the echoes here you see on the radar. But this one out here to the west is actually strengthening a little bit. So I think the best bet is to probably continue this warning through expiration, which is 8 o'clock. So if we don't get another extension here past 8 o'clock or any other additional warnings, I'll sign off here. But right now, let's see what the areas are being affected. Again, this wind is actually broadening out a little bit, so that's a good sign that this is actually spreading. So that's another signal that this thunderstorm is weakening with time as it moves across Walton's Ridge and into Ray County. So Summer City's getting a lot of this right now. New Harmony, Lee Station area, Pikeville, you're kind of getting on the backside of this thunderstorm, but you got more moving in. So I'm going to be honest with you, it's going to be a while before they could start that game back up over there in Pikeville. So it's going to be a little bit. I mean, you might be able to get a little bit of it in after this stuff back here towards Spencer gets through, but after that you got another one that's going to be moving in. So yeah, it's going to be a long night probably, unfortunately, for those of you from pretty much McMinnville all the way through Spencer and Pikeville as far as storminess is concerned. Now, so far, I want to remind everybody here that we do have a tornado watch that remains in effect for the next 2 hours until 10 o'clock Central, 11 o'clock Eastern time. That's why I'm not really letting my guard down yet. That's why I'm not giving all clears. I don't want to give any premature all clears when the number one, the watch hadn't expired and there's still thunderstorms in the area, because we know how quickly things can change around here, and we can go from quiet to a lot of warnings in a very short amount of time. So that's why I'm being very careful here with the wording. But so far, other than this one warning that we've had, it's been smooth sailing so far, at least on the severe end of things. Yeah, we've had a lot of noisy storms up here. I know McMinnville had some hail earlier. There was also some hail in Van Buren County, so that's been a common occurrence with these thunderstorms. But so far, locally, they haven't gotten further than that, as far as levels are concerned. So as long as we keep it down here, we keep it low here, then we'll be good. But again, these look pretty nasty out here towards Woodbury. No severe warnings with these back out here to the west, but this is going to again move back into Warren County, eventually Van Buren County down the road. And those of you south here in nearby counties, let's say like Coffee County, Grundy, Squatchy, even Hamilton, specifically Northern Hamilton, it does appear that you're going to end up missing out on a lot of this stuff right up in here. But it's possible as we get later on, as the front starts pushing this stuff farther south with time, some of this stuff back out here developing towards Columbia will eventually try to make its way into your areas. So, as I said earlier, those of you in southeast Tennessee that have not gotten rain and thunderstorm activity, you probably will at some point later tonight. But as I said, we still got several hours to go here. We still got at least a good 3 to 5, 6 hours or so before the front can finally yank everything all the way down into middle Georgia and middle Alabama. So it'll be a little bit. But again, at the moment, as I said, this is the only one of note, and I'll double check to make sure we don't have anything else as far as rotation is concerned, and we don't have that. So again, just a little bit of a color table reference here. The brighter the red you see here, the stronger the wind is showing on Doppler radar. So for example, we're looking at, and I can actually query this. Again, remember, severe level wind is 58, so we're seeing a lot of 40s and 50s, so just below the threshold, but there is a 60 right there, just west of New Harmony, moving into New Harmony. And then back out here to the west also, some 40 to 50 out here. So winds are pretty gusty, but at least they're not too wild at the moment. And there's no rotation, there's no couplets or anything, and if there would have been a rotational couplet, you probably would have seen what we call a rotational couplet, where you have the red and green that meet up against one another. When that happens, you have rotation. So far, I haven't seen that over the last 20, 30 minutes, thankfully. So I believe we're heading on the up. From the way I'm seeing things right now, I believe we're heading on the way up as opposed to down, which is good. So things are at the moment looking up. But remember, as always, that can change. So again, this warning remains in effect for Bledsoe and Ray for about another 10 minutes. Now, they did technically include a very, very small portion of Squatchy County. And just out of curiosity, again, there's really nothing in this part that's under this other than Dooley Road up there. So really, most of Squatchy is not even going to be impacted by this storm. And now, they also included a small part of Meigs, but it looks like this, and now this will eventually affect Meigs, but at the moment, this is staying to the west of Meigs at this time. So if you're out here towards Decatur, I think there's a game going on there too, so heads up out that way. And out here towards Athens as well, you're going to get some thunderstorms here down the road within the next hour or so. And then back out here again, more heavy thunderstorms moving across Woodbury, so Cannon County. Smithville's getting some good rain and thunder, but I don't see anything severe there. Cookeville looks good, other than some rain. Crossville, just some light rain there. Kind of looks more like light rain and drizzle out that way, so nothing to speak of there. And again, everybody else is quiet at the moment. Now, down here in northeast Alabama, I forgot to check this just to make sure there's anything crazy here. Jackson County, you're good. Just some light showers, maybe a brief downpour in here, but nothing too wild. I mean, there are some cells trying to form out towards Huntsville, but notice the shape of these out here. They actually look a little more elevated, so they would be more of the heavy rain, hail, if they grow into a storm, it'd probably be more of heavy rain, some lightning, some hail. But even as I said, but that wouldn't be anything tornadic as long as it stays in that elevated upward shape. But those of you in northeast Alabama, you're probably going to get some brief downpours and some perhaps a little bit of lightning, but nothing too crazy though. And that may move into North Georgia with time. Also, a little shower looks like developing north of Cleveland, but that's not problematic. And I do want to note something up here, moving into Bledsoe County. You might want this second storm here. This one right here, you notice this little bow feature, and I'm drawing it out for you right here. This storm is starting the bow, so what that is an indication of is you're getting some very strong winds along that leading edge. So Pikeville, you got round 2 moving in. It's about to move in soon, so you're getting a break right now. But you got round 2 moving in from Fall Creek Falls, and that's going to be there very soon. So Mount Crest, you're getting right back into the thick of it again. And Spencer, you're good for now, but you got more storms moving in from the west, and same with McMinnville. But again, this little bow right here, just a little backward C, kind of like a bow and arrow, this is going to contain some strong gusty winds as that moves into the Sequatchie Valley, particularly the Bledsoe side of the Sequatchie Valley, up into the Pikeville area again, and then it's going to head right back up the mountains. So same places like New Harmony and Summer City and Liberty Hill, those places on top of the mountain, you're going to get this activity again next. And even though Dayton hadn't seen anything yet, it does appear that this is trying to hook a little more to the right, so it does appear that Dayton's going to end up getting this too. And Graysville may get clipped by this as well. And Spring City will be on the north side of this. And just as I'm speaking here, there is now a new advisory that has just been issued. This is what we call a significant weather advisory or special weather statement. So what I'll do is I'll read that off to you here when I get it on the wire here. So this is a significant weather advisory that's going to include parts of Sequatchie County. Also for, actually I can pull it up on here. We'll put it up on here. It says Doppler radar was tracking strong thunderstorms extending along the line from 6 miles northwest of Pikeville to 13 miles northwest of Dunlap, moving east at 40 miles an hour. Hazard is wind gusts up to 40. It's radar indicated, and gusty winds could knock down tree limbs and blow around unsecured objects. So locations that are in the path of that include Dayton, Pikeville, Decatur, Spring City, Graysville, Peakland, Mount Crest, Evansville, Sale Creek, and Palo. And again, there's a reminder that the tornado watch remains in effect until 11 o'clock Eastern Time. So it's this blue highlighted spot. So here's who's in and who's out. So this includes pretty much Cagle Mountain in Sequatchie County, even though it looks like the worst of this is in the state north of there. Includes all of Bledsoe, all of Ray, the western half of Meigs, mainly west of Highway 58, and the Sale Creek area of Hamilton County. So Sale Creek and Bakewell. So that does include those that are at the Innovation Academy Sale Creek game in Sale Creek. So at the moment, there's not a lightning danger to where anybody has to seek shelter. But considering this storm is going to be getting kind of close to you, you definitely want to keep an eye on the radar down there in the Sale Creek area because you may be next in line to get a delay. And same with Meigs County because they got a game as well. So definitely, I'd definitely get ready for a delay in Decatur, and also would start preparing for that in Sale Creek. So we'll have to watch that carefully there. But again, all along Highway 27 here. If you know anybody that happens to also be commuting along Highway 27, definitely make sure they're aware that there's some strong thunderstorms moving in, and just make sure they are being careful. Be very careful. Take your time. Take it slow. And the good news is, just got in some good news here, that warning has been allowed to expire just before expiration time. So technically it's supposed to expire at 8 o'clock, which is 4 minutes. But the National Weather Service in Morristown just dropped it because the thunderstorm has dropped below severe levels and no longer poses a severe threat. Now, with that said, as you see by the colors here on the radar, you still got some strong thunderstorms moving across Bledsoe and eventually into Ray County. But other than the threat of some gusty winds, some lightning, and perhaps a little bit of small hail, there's not anything at the moment that really strikes out as rotation or anything like that or severe level wind. And I'll double check the velocities here just to make sure. And I think this is probably a little overdone here. That's showing the 60 because we're looking higher up in the radar, so that's probably more like 50 towards the surface. But you get the idea. Probably some 40 to 50 mile an hour wind. Um, Definitely, and maybe a little bit of maybe some pea to marble size hail, and there's a pretty strong indication of that actually out here towards Dill, Old Cumberland, and moving out towards the Brockdale Mountain area. So heading out towards Lee Station, those areas along 127. You're going to be next in line for possibly a little bit of some small hail. And again, here's where the game is in Bledsoe, Pikeville. It's about right here. I can kind of circle the area for you. Again, I've been up and down Squatchy Valley. I'm from the area. So right here is where that game's being held. So here comes another round of some very rough weather moving in. And again, that will head towards New Harmony next. That's going to head into Summer City. Ogden, they're on Dayton Mountain. Liberty Hill, and then there's Dayton proper. So Evansville, Bryan College area, this is where this is all heading next. And again, this will not affect Dunlap. This is going to stay far north of Dunlap. This is not going to affect Chat. This is going to stay well north of Chat and Cleveland. Not going to affect you. Not going to affect Marion. I mean, you guys will be good probably for at least another hour, couple of hours before all this back out here to the north and west eventually makes its southeast turn. So, real quick here also, I want to check on this one that's moving in from the west. No warning or advisory on this that's moving across Cannon County. There is a little bit of very broad rotation here aloft, moving over the Fudge Around area of Coffee County. What a name. And that's moving towards Midway and Pocahontas there along the Cannon-Coffee County line. So, not really a major concern tornadic-wise, but you got some pretty strong winds and you got some hail in here too. So, again, not enough to damage any vehicles. I want to stress that. This would be small hail, more of annoyance than anything. It'll be noisy as that gets ready to cross 55 here as you get north out of, so that's Woodbury Highway there as you come north out of New Union and you head up towards Woodbury. So passing halfway between the two, and this is going to head into McMinnville next. So if you're in McMinnville, this is your heads up. You got another very strong storm moving in, and you might get more hail out of it. So you may get some more small hail here pretty soon. And Morrison, you may experience the same thing. Because remember, when you have a storm that's trying to strengthen, it may try to lean more to the right. So it's pretty much following this same pattern here. So I'll kind of demonstrate that. Notice how it's kind of just following this same pattern. So we've got this training effect that's happening here in our northern counties and communities here. So think basically this northern Coffee, Cannon, Warren, Van Buren, far northern Squatchy, Bledsoe, Ray, Meigs, pretty much that whole corridor right here. This is just a continuous path of strong thunderstorms with heavy rain, lightning, some hail, and gusty winds. Now, as I said earlier, we will have to watch for the possibility of a little bit of flash flooding down the road, because especially if we continue to get the training like this, because you don't really want to see this, because then you start having flooding problems, and yeah, it gets rough. So we don't want to see that. So again, let's query some of the winds on this storm to the west. As I said, very strong, pretty strong winds here. So that's about 20 going that way, about 20 the other way. So probably some 40-mile-an-hour winds there, moving right down the Cannon-Coffee County line, so right around Midway and Pocahontas and that area. And then it's going to move right up towards Morrison, the Smart community. It's out there where that plant is out there. That's going to be next in line, and eventually out towards, there's Chancery as you go up into McMinnville, so this is going to roll right into town again. And now Irving College kind of missed out on the last one just barely, but this is actually going to head your way next, so those of you in Irving College, looks like you're actually going to get this one as this moves to kind of to the east-southeast. So you may have kind of dodged at least a couple of these earlier, but you're going to get this one more than likely that's coming out of the west, barring a sudden, more eastward movement as opposed to southeast. But again, let's get back over here also to the only one that's actually currently advised on right now, not warned on, but advised on. Excuse me, this is for Bledsoe, Ray, Western, Meigs. And again, this is going to go in effect. Let's get the time on that. It goes in effect until 8:45 Central. That's 9:45 Eastern Time. So this is eventually going to head towards Decatur and Big Springs. So it heads up here along 58. You're not technically in this right now, but you're going to be in this here pretty soon. So this is getting up here towards Watts Bar, so the Watts Bar Dam, the Watts Bar Nuclear Facility, all that stuff up in here. Bryan College. This is all going to be next in line of this storm as it moves out of the Squatchy Valley and Bledsoe and up the mountain and over. We'll check on the winds with this real quick and make sure it's not doing anything sneaky and not seeing anything there. Other than just some bright reds, some purples here, that just means that, or pinks, whatever, that means strong wind. That's all that means. No rotation, none of that. And that's moving off to the east here fairly quickly. And I think the speed on that, let me check that again. That was moving east at 40, so not moving extremely fast, but it is moving, so that's the good thing. At least it's moving. It's not like a summer storm where it's sitting, thank goodness. But at least we got some movement of this as this moves off to the east. So what's happening here, and what I believe is happening with these two cells here, is this one to the east is falling apart, but this one to the west seems to be taking over and re-intensifying. So we'll have to see if this continues. If this were to continue, then we may get a severe thunderstorm warning here that goes out to Ray, not just Ray and Meigs, but also potentially McMinn County. So right here is McMinn County where Athens sits. You guys will be next in line, and then eventually towards Monroe County as well. And again, this one out here to the west continues to strengthen a little bit. The hail looks to be ramping up just a little bit in this as it moves towards Highway 55 here. So that runs from New Union up to Woodbury again. Could be some marble, maybe penny-size hail in that area. And then that's going to move towards Centertown. So Centertown, you already had a strong storm earlier. You're pretty much getting it now, but it's going to get even heavier here over the next 5 minutes or so. So get ready in Centertown. And then McMinnville, you'll be next in line for this as well. And then Shady Rest, Smart, Daylight, and eventually towards Rock Island. Now, Rock Island, you'll be on the northern end of this. But at least as far as the hail and everything else is concerned, looks like that's going to stay just to your south. But again, where you see the purple here, that's where the possibility of hail is. And the rest of the colors here, the yellow, orange, and red, that just indicates heavy rain and also that potential for gusty winds. But once you get into the purple and to the pink here, that means you have the potential for hail. Now, we do now have an advisory on this storm. So, just a little heads up here. We do now have a significant weather advisory that has been issued here for Warren County and also Cannon and Coffee. This goes into effect for the next 40 minutes, again, until 8:45. This is for half-inch hail and wind gusts up to 40. Locations in the path include McMinnville, Morrison, and Centertown. And also, Irving College is in this warning, and not quite Viola. Advisory, not warning. But Viola's not quite in this, but you're close enough to where you'll at least get some gusty wind. And Summitville's also right on the edge of this too. But you can almost consider yourself in it if you want to down here. But it's going to be a very close call for you guys down here towards Summitville and Viola, and down towards the Grundy County line. But this is looking to be mainly a northern Coffee, southern Cannon, and pretty much about all of Warren County is going to get this. At least the heavy rain and lightning at minimum. But some parts of the county, again, like earlier with the first storm, could get some hail out of that. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to update that track, and we'll put that east at 45 miles an hour. So what I'll do real quick before I do anything there, I'm going to double check that. Okay, good, it's at 45. So now let's put it into good use and track that all the way out east. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and give Pikeville a heads up as well, because this is going to be heading that way again. So Morrison here, you can actually see the times on here. It looks like Morrison's going to be around your area around 8:15. McMinnville just before 8:30. In fact, it'll actually be there sooner with this end. But as far as this really strong stuff out here near Pocahontas, that's going to get to you around 8:30. If that holds together, and that's a big if. Spencer, you're probably, even though you're not, even I don't know why I didn't include you on this, but it does look like it'll be in your area probably just before 9 o'clock. So probably I'd say between like 8:30 and 9 up there. Same with Fall Creek Falls. And then the Pikeville area, storm number 3 is probably going to reach you around or just after 9 o'clock Central Time. So, again, you got one storm that's moving out, another one that's moving through, and another one right on its tails. plus some downpours in the middle of that. And then you can't forget about this other activity out here to the west. Shelbyville area, Lewisburg, got some heavy rain out here that's moving east. But I also just got word as well. Here's also some good news. Those of you in Coffee County and Grundy County, you have actually been removed from the tornado watch. So let me repeat that again for those that may be just tuning in. If you're in Coffee County and Grundy County, the National Weather Service in Nashville has removed you from the tornado watch. And also, Warren, Van Buren, White, DeKalb, Cumberland, and Cannon have also been removed from the tornado watch. So I'll read that list to you. Coffee, Grundy, Warren, Cannon, Van Buren, White, DeKalb, Cumberland. You no longer have a tornado watch. It has been canceled for you. So you're good on that end. You still got thunderstorms that will be approaching, but the National Weather Service in Nashville, and based on also what I've seen, it does appear that the tornado threat continues to gradually weaken and continue to diminish, I should say. It's not zero. I won't ever say it's zero. You're never going to hear me say that. I'm just going to say it up front. It's never exactly zero, but we'll just say the threat's decreasing. It's decreasing enough to where the tornado watch has been canceled for you. Now, however, for those of you in Ray, Bledsoe, Squatchy, Marion, Franklin, Lincoln, and more, you still got the watch out of precaution because these storms haven't moved down there yet. So, because that hasn't happened yet, your tornado watch still remains in effect in Ray, Bledsoe, Squatchy, Marion, Jackson, Franklin, Moore, and Lincoln counties until 10 o'clock. So, those are the only counties at this time under the watch. And what I'll actually do here real quick is let me pop on the alerts here, and I'll show you what that watch includes and doesn't include. And also, another quick note here, I'm actually also broadcasting this on YouTube as well, so you can watch it also on there. Chase Bryant Weather on YouTube. I'm nearing 1,000 subscribers, so we're getting pretty good there on that. So, and you can also get notifications when I go live on there. So, again, it's a free thing. I've got it all set up to where you don't have to pay a dime for it. You can subscribe for free on the YouTube channel. But again, here are the counties in yellow that are under the watch. So there's Lincoln County, Moore, Franklin, Jackson, Marion, Squatchy, Bledsoe, and Ray. The only counties in our area under the watch. Everybody else, mid-state, you're good. Nashville's all clear. Cookville's all clear. And Knoxville should be good too, as far as that area is concerned. This is all staying. You got heavy rainstorms over there, but it's staying south. The worst of this is staying south of you. So let's take off the watch here so it doesn't create any confusion here. So that's what I'm going to do here. So let me make sure I get the right thing on here. Here we go. Weather alerts, take off the watch. And the hail is actually intensifying on this again. So again, this storm's ramping up, and it's got a decent little bow structure to it as it moves into Warren County. Excuse me. So that means those of you around Morrison, you got some strong winds. I'll be honest, this thing still has a little bit of broad rotation in it. We got to watch it. And that's why I'm sticking around here, because sometimes you get a little surprise that happens. So I'm watching this carefully, but those of you around Morrison, there's a little bit of broad spin being indicated off on Doppler radar. Not enough for a warning, but that's why I've said the threat's not exactly zero, because sometimes you get these little kinks that can develop in these thunderstorms. So you can kind of see where it tries to form right here. But definitely what I'm seeing for sure here is some strong gusty winds, probably 40 miles an hour. Potentially some pea to penny-size hail. Moving up pretty much right where Prater's Barbecue and all that is, right there along the main road that runs through there. So that's right along Manchester Highway. So those of you in that area need to make sure you're at least away from windows, but you really shouldn't have to take tornado precautions, at least right now. So you're good there. So Vervilla, you're in the path of this thunderstorm. Lawson Mill, you're next up. Mount Zion, you're also in line. McMinnville area, you're next in line too. There's Trousdale. You're in the middle of this right now. Bethany's also in this, and there's the McMinnville Airport. So this is all moving in basically as we speak. And again, no travel here. If you can, I mean, if you have to drive through though, just be very, very careful. Is all I got to say there. I mean, if you're traveling there along Highway 55 and anywhere along Highway 53 or anything like that in this area, just make sure that you're, you know, taking it slow and not rushing anything. So these are the only two advisories we got in the area right now. So here's Warren County, mostly part of Coffee, and here's the other one that's moving out of Pikeville now and moving up the mountain towards New Harmony and eventually into the Dayton area. So again, Dayton, you hadn't seen much all day, but you know what? You're getting it right now. You're about to get it. You're about to get some heavy rain. You're about to get some lightning, some gusty winds. But at least so far, you don't have a warning. That warning was canceled just after just before 8 o'clock. So you're good out there, at least at this time. Now that doesn't mean, that it won't change. But what I'm saying here is you still have a strong thunderstorm moving in, especially around Evansville, points south towards Decatur as well. So those are the next areas in line for that, and eventually it's going to head out towards Athens. And I'll check on this real quick also because I'm seeing some redevelopment here of some rain and some thunder. So far, I haven't seen anything crazy with this moving across Van Buren, the southern end here. But again, you got some heavy rain there. Sparta's got some heavy rain, and I said this is just a big mess out here towards McMinnville. I mean, look at this. I mean, this is a big mess right here. All this purple you see here, that's the potential for some small hail in that thunderstorm. And that's going to move off to the east here. And again, it's moving east at about 45 miles an hour. And another thing I want to note here is when you see a very short difference from green to red, green to purple here, that also indicates when you have that dramatic cutoff there in the precip there, that also can indicate strong straight line winds, especially in this instance along the leading edge. So you're going to get some pretty strong winds here also on the south side of town and out towards looks like right there, that's Ben Lomond Mountain, and out towards Smyrna in Warren County, not the Smyrna near Murfreesboro, but the Smyrna in Warren County, and that's going to move down towards Irving College. So Highway 56 corridor. If you know anybody coming up out of Grundy or coming south out of McMinnville, make sure they're careful. Very careful in this. And then up here to the north, I forgot to check these northern areas here. The Gaff community and then up towards Rock Island and Campaign. More heavy thunderstorm activity about to move in, but the good news is it is non-severe. Now let me check the velocity here because there was a little bit of broad rotation earlier on this. Let's see if it's changed. Yeah, it's still there. Nothing crazy, but it's still there. Again, what I mean by broad rotation is, and I can measure this and tell you what I mean by that, is when you have a rotation that's so long across. Like, for example, look how long across that is. It needs to be a lot more condensed for that to happen. So this is a broadly what we call a mesocyclone up aloft. So it's just broadly spinning up there. It's not touching the ground. It's not forming a funnel. But we just got to watch it and make sure it doesn't try to tighten up. So as long as it doesn't tighten up, then there won't be a need for a warning. But it's just giving you a little heads up here just to not let your guard down around Morrison and down towards Mount Zion and eventually, especially Viola, because this would head down your way if it holds together. Now, if this thunderstorm does try to lean more to the right, it very well could clip the far northern end of Grundy County. I mean, like North Cuts Cove. I mean, that'd be about the far south this goes, I believe, if it does get that far south, if this thunderstorm does. Mostly, though, for the most part, as I've said earlier, this is going to mostly be for Warren County. So that would be McMinnville area and points south. And eventually, it's going to move right back into the same areas that these first two storms gone. So it's going to go right back into Van Buren. It's going to go right back into Bledsoe. But this one may actually do something a little different, just slightly, considering the front's getting a little closer. It may actually try to catch the northern end of Sequatchie County. So think around the Highway 8 intersection with 111, down even towards 399 there in Cagle. There's a possibility that this leans to the right and gets down there. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens. Again, it's wait and see. There's just when you have strengthening thunderstorms specifically thunderstorms like this that cycle, they do very erratic things, and sometimes they can make a sudden jog north of east or south of east. It can happen very quickly. So that's just the way it is here. And Again, these storms actually out here to the west are also intensifying a little bit too. They're kind of scattered. They kind of look like almost summer thunderstorms out here to the west, the way they're shaped. But these currently do not pose any severe threat. And after reading through what the Weather Service in Nashville is saying, they don't believe that there's going to be anything big that comes out of this from what I've seen, especially when they canceled that watch. So that's why I'm saying if you're in that area, you're pretty much good for the night. I just don't see anything happening with that. It's just that we just got to watch this one in particular for those of you in Warren County. And again, I want to reiterate down here further south, let's check on these down in Jackson County because I've noticed these are trying to intensify down here a little. Right around the Gurley area, some heavy rain, some lightning, non-severe. Let's get a direction on that, and that's moving due east. So Scottsboro and Hollywood, you got some hefty rain and some thunder heading your way. These storms actually are intensifying, and really, to be honest with you, they got a wide open environment down here that hasn't been used today. So we'll see if they can strengthen any further or not. And Stevenson's about to get in on a pretty good downpour here soon, based off a radar here. So this will head up along Sand Mountain here, and eventually go into northwest Georgia. So areas that have not seen rain today, to this point, I bet you're going to get some. I will say. You will get some rain out of this here across northeast Alabama and northwest Georgia. It's coming. Don't worry. I know a lot of you are wanting rain and need it. And we can take every bit of it, considering it's technically we're still kind of in our dry season here technically. Even though it should start, moistening up a little bit as we get towards December, at least on average. Now, it doesn't mean it's always going to happen that way, but but again, we could take every raindrop we can get. We just, as long as we don't get too much, we'll take it. But again, this looks like this cell's intensifying here, right there, just south of us, right around Baker Mountain Road there. So that's going to go up right towards Fall Creek Falls. There's a cell up here that's intensifying. So again, when you got the dark red on the map, so you got the red, got a little bit of pink in here, that just shows the indication that you got an intensifying thunderstorm that's trying to become something. So far it hasn't. Hopefully it never will. But again, you got to watch these little cells. And then let's check on this one here. Make sure this hadn't done anything crazy in the last few minutes. And again, it's still trying to broadly do something over here as far as like aloft in the cloud level, at least rotation wise. But this is really just a very strong indication of gusty wind. I mean, at least 30 to 40 mile an hour gusts in there. Nothing too extreme, but something to watch. So when you have the bright green going like that, I mean to the point where there's hardly any data right here, you see in the middle where it kind of fades a little, that's an indication of how gusty that wind is when the data is kind of going in and out like that. So just south of downtown Morrison by maybe a mile or two is where this is. This strong area of gusty wind is. It's moving pretty much right towards Viola Road. So that road right there, you see, is 108. So you got 108 there that comes from Viola and goes all the way up towards Warren County High School. That's going to be the area where this is going to enter next. And then it's going to cross over and into Irving College, Stepsville area, and then head up towards Harrison Ferry Mountain. So those around Harrison Ferry Mountain, you're going to be impacted by this next. And down towards Spring Creek as well. So some heavy rainfall, gusty winds, a lot of lightning. Just a noisy storm. And out of curiosity, let's see how tall this thunderstorm is. And I can put a query on that. And it's running at about a little over 40,000 feet. So it's a pretty tall thunderstorm. And I'll check on this one over here in Ray County. This one's running about 35 to 40,000 feet. So these are some pretty tall thunderstorms, especially for November standards. This is normal to see in the summer, but in spring. But when you're talking about November storms, they're pretty tall. Now this is a product here that I use for hail, and it does show a little bit. Now it's not maxed out. If it was maxed out, you'd see more purple and gray over here, but we're not seeing that. We're seeing a little bit of red, but it's nothing too crazy. But there could be some small hailstones in this moving over Warren County. And then here's another little area that may also be producing some small hail as it moves over New Harmony and eventually right down Highway 30 and down Dayton Mountain into Dayton proper, and also Evansville, Bryan College area, and over towards Old Washington. You guys will be next up, and eventually that's going to get to Decatur as well. So heads up out there. For anybody still at the Megs game, heads up. You got a strong thunderstorm moving in. You got a lot of lightning. Got to get people inside. Got to get people away. Get them out of the stands. Just make sure that they're away from, away from the elements here as this moves off to the east. And again, once this starts, it's going to be kind of on and off based on the way this is going here. It's going to be on and off for a little while. So once you get in this, it's going to be hard to get out because of the way this is this rain thunderstorm motion's oriented, this west to east. So, and I'll put that into motion again and show you that. And you can kind of see now there has been, and what I'll actually do is I'll put it on a 14 frame, and you can actually see overall what's happened. Notice this storm right here in Warren here. Look what's happening over the last little bit. See, it's now trying to shift more to the right. So it does appear, based on that track, it might get down to Beersheba. It may get down there. It may get down to Cagle. I mean, it looks like it almost maybe a slam dunk. A slam dunk might get down to Cagle the way that looks. But again, it's going to go right back towards Pikeville, but this time it may also go down towards Hendon too. So Hendon area on top of the mountain, Graysville, you haven't anything there yet, but you're getting brushed by this first one. But it looks like this second one's heading right at you. And then out here towards Decatur as well. So right back in, so you got one storm moving in, and you got another one that's going to be moving in right after that. Within minutes apart, really. And this stuff up here, I know I have some followers up here towards Crossville, Cookville, Smithville, Sparta, but you got nothing to worry about up here. You're in the clear. In fact, I'll go ahead and give some all clears here. So, Woodbury, you're good. Smithville, Sparta, Crossville, Cookville, Nashville, Murfreesboro, you're all clear. Your severe threat's officially over. It's done. Barring a last second crazy thing happening here, I do believe Coffee County is good. As long as nothing dramatic happens. Now, let's hold off on here. I know the watch is technically canceled, but let's hold off on just a minute over here just to make sure this storm that's just north of the Grundy County line doesn't try to do anything sneaky here. But I'll check on that real quick, see what the winds look like. And thankfully that has weakened a little. So some great news there. Still got this bright red in here, which indicates some strong wind, again, probably in the 40-mile-an-hour range. But we have lost whatever broad circulation there was, basically. I mean, this is what's become. So this has become more dominant. So this red that's going away, that's become the more dominant motion. So you're not seeing as much of that green as much anymore. So if the green and red met very tight right here, that would have been a big concern. That would have been a big tornado concern. But thankfully what we're seeing here is that this red's become more dominant than the green, so that is more of what we call a strong straight line wind deal. That can, now in this instance, a 40-mile-an-hour wind, considering we still have leaves on the trees and things, that does kind of create a little bit of a hazard. That can knock down some limbs. That can bring those leaves onto the roads. And remember, driving with leaves on the roads when it's wet, it's extra slippery. You got to be very careful with that. So that's why I say, especially here at nighttime, if there's anybody driving around, you got to be very careful on a night like this in these areas where they're getting storms. And even areas where they're not getting storms, where it's cloudy, clouds may look a little low because, fog and things. You just got to be extra careful. At the moment, I'll check on Sale Creek here real quick because I know there's a game there. At the moment, I've not heard any confirmation if they've delayed or anything, but it does appear the worst of this storm is passing just north, but considering the lightning rules for the state of Tennessee, if I were to guess probably where the nearest strike would be, it would probably be within that window, or very close to it, of the TWSAA rule, where you have to put a stoppage to the game in action. So it's pretty close. So it's a pretty close call there in Sale Creek. But Decatur, no doubt that you're going to get delayed. If you haven't yet, you will be soon. I just know it because you got this storm moving in. Could be some heavy rain, again, heavy rain for sure, lightning, perhaps some gusty winds, and maybe some pea-sized hail in that thing too. But again, this is where everything is oriented. So again, I'll put on the frame and I'll show you that with time, if you've noticed right here, there has been a little more of a southeastward push. That's a sign that the cold front, not the one that's going to bring us that crazy cold air on Monday, But this first one here, it's a weaker front. But it's the one that's getting us to storms. It's finally forcing, with time, this rain and thunderstorm activity farther southeast with time. It's taking time. It's taking time. As I said, we're going to be in this probably through about midnight, but after that, things should start wrapping up and fading out. Now, if you do want to go to bed, I'll be honest with you, feel free. I mean, because I really don't see anything crazy happening. Now, I would, out of precaution, specifically in southeast Tennessee, just out of precaution, keep that weather alert radio on. Keep those wireless emergency alerts on your phone on. Just out of precaution, just make sure you just have something that can wake you up in case we get a rogue warning, like a severe thunderstorm warning, or worst comes to worst, a tornado warning somewhere. If we were to get one of those suddenly, at least you'll have that notification on your phone or whatever, and you'll be able to get that alert. So that'll be a way that can something that can wake you up. So again, like I say, if you want to go to bed, hey, I mean this is a great time to do it. I mean this is a good time. I mean because things so far have been on the low end, and if it stays that way, we'll be good for the rest of the night too. But again, as I said, that's your choice. But again, before anybody asks about can I go to bed, I'm giving you permission. But just to be on the safe side, just make sure you have something that can wake you up, like something on your phone, weather alert wise, that can wake you up. And I really would recommend people, really, and I know it costs $30 or so, but I would definitely, number one, recommend a no weather alert radio. By far, number one in the way. If you got that at home, that's fantastic. I mean, because that thing will sound very loudly if you get a warning. So that's just something to keep note of. So if you do, I don't know where they sell them, but wherever they do, next time around, I would definitely go and buy one. Because those things will wake you up and you will get that alert faster. And that way, you get that alert, you tune in to hear, see what's happening, and you're good and safe. That's a very efficient way to do that. Now, I do want to check on this storm. It looks like it's trying to intensify over Dayton here. So we have a little bit of hail being indicated here. So this is crossing over Highway 30. So this is right over where Bryan College is. So this is going to pass just south of Watts Bar. So that's going to go right over Old Washington. And it's going to go right down 30 into Decatur. So right down into downtown. That's going to be where it's going to go next. So also Coleman Subdivision, Union Grove, Breedenton, Decatur Hills, Goodfield, Allen area. This is going to be heading into your area there along Highway 58 shortly. And up there in 10 Mile, you got some heavy rain there. But most of this is going to pass south of you. And in Athens, here's your heads up. Again, Riceville, same thing. There's Nyota, Englewood there. Englewood, you're in the path of this too. So Englewood, you're in the path. Etowah, you're in the kind of in the path, but really this should stay north of you. But this out here to the west and north may affect you down there, down the road. So Etowah, Englewood, Athens, more thunderstorms are these thunderstorms are moving in your direction. Pikeville's got another one here. Got another cell here moving over town again. Y'all just can't catch a break out there, sadly. But you got more also moving in from Van Buren County here shortly. Again, non-severe. I want to stress we don't have any severe warnings in effect. But we just got a lot of noisy storms with a lot of lightning, a lot of heavy rain, gusty winds. Some pockets, again, fairly isolated, but there's always that chance, some isolated pockets of some hail. Pea size, penny size, marble size, something like that. Nothing too big. More of a nuisance than anything. And that's just going to keep moving from, really, we'll just say from north-northwest to east-southeast. I mean, pretty much the way this has been moving. This stuff down here to the south and moving into Jackson County, that's pretty much moving due east. And there's also some heavy rain out here towards Brindley Mountain there in Marshall County, and that's going to move over to Guntersville Lake here pretty soon. So that'll be moving up atop Sand. And then up here towards Crossville, you don't have anything going on up here. Nothing crazy there, just some rain. So Bowman, Fairfield Lake, Crab Orchard, just some heavy downpours there. Bonaire Mountain, Sparta, some heavy rain there. And another cell about to work its way towards Rock Island and Walling, but this is so far is not severe either. And here we go. Here's an update on this storm. And again, it continues with time to slowly get a little more east-southeast. So it's actually now jumping on top of the Grundy County line here. So it's actually getting ready to try to cross into North Cuts Cove here. So some very heavy rain. The hail signature, thankfully, has dropped off, and I'm not seeing any indications of rotation, just some gusty wind. And that has really broadened out, so some great news there. So it's just some heavy rain, some gusty winds there moving across the Warren and Grundy County line, getting ready to move into North Cuts and eventually down towards Beersheba. So heads up there around Savage Gulf and east towards Cagle. I mean, this is moving east-southeast in your direction, and you can see how that front is now beginning to influence this and moving it more east-southeast as opposed to east. And also a new advisory just got posted here. I just saw the polygon pop up. This is for Meigs in McMinn counties, also Monroe. Monroe is technically outside of my coverage area, but it includes you as well if you happen to be watching over there. But Meigs and McMinn locally are under this advisory for the next 40 minutes. So that's going to go into effect here until 9:15 Central. That's 10:15 Eastern. It says here at 9:31 Eastern, Doppler radar was tracking strong thunderstorms along the line extending from Decatur to near Dayton, as I was just tracking there a few minutes ago, moving east at 40. Hazard or wind gusts up to 40 miles an hour. Gusty winds can knock down tree limbs and blow around unsecured objects. Locations that are in the path include Athens, Sweetwater, Madisonville, Decatur, Etowah, Inglewood, Nyota, Riceville, Terriffill, and Clearwater in the path of that. And then for portions of East Tennessee, well, Ray and in the Squatchy Valley, you remain under that tornado watch there until 10 o'clock. But I'll be honest, I don't think they're going to need to extend that watch. I think it'll either get canceled early in the Squatchy Valley and points south, or it'll either get canceled early or it'll just expire at regular expiration time, which is 10 o'clock. I just don't see any evidence and don't think there will be any need to extend it farther than that. So again, these storms are behaving here, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put out an updated track, and this is moving out to the east at 40, so what I'll do is I'll adjust that frame and adjust that speed on that thing. You're seeing that live. And we'll track that due east there. Put that on. There we go. And I'll get those cities in there. I'll get Telco in there too. So there you go in Decatur. 9:39. It's on your doorstep. Make sure you're inside and out of the lightning there. Athens, it'll be near you just before 10 o'clock Eastern. Remember, these times are in Eastern. So if you're in Central Time, subtract an hour. And Nyota, again, right around or just before 10 o'clock Eastern in your area. Inglewood will be about the same time. 10:15, of course, over towards Madisonville. 10:23 around that time for Tellico Plains. So those areas are pretty much going to be next in line for this as it moves off to the east. And Riceville, Riceville and Etowah there, you'd also be looking at around or just before 10 o'clock in those areas as well. So you got about 20 minutes or so before that gets to you. So what I'll do is let's double check that motion, make sure I get the track on this right. This is moving again kind of east-southeast, so we got to take account of that and double check this speed motion. This one's actually moving southeast at 45. So I'll adjust that just to make sure we get the right speed there. So we'll put that to the east-southeast, and we'll track it from the heaviest part. And no big communities are going to show up on that, so I'm going to have to go really out here just to get Dunlap and some of the others in, just as a heads up. So again, around Dunlap area, if this continues to move east-southeast, this will be near you within about 30 minutes. So there you go. There's the time frame there. So I'll actually put this list over here just so everybody can see it. So if it were to get this far south, it would go towards Cleveland around 10:49 Eastern. But again, I'm not totally sold on that just yet. But considering that the front's finally starting to push this rain and thunderstorm activity a little farther south with time, I'm starting to believe that it will in fact impact your area somewhere down the road just before midnight. So that is a pretty good time frame. So between 10 and midnight, you'll probably get storms in the Cleveland area. Benton and Polk County, they're around 11 o'clock, so 11 o'clock, 11:03. This would impact Etowah. Would be a different storm. This storm would impact the Etowah area around 11:08, Cherokee National Forest area around 11:26, and up here towards Dayton around 10:30. And there's Dunlap there within about 30 minutes. Again, if this thunderstorm holds together and continues to try to propagate a little farther southeast, that's a big if. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens. So there's some tracks that I just put on there, and I'll check on this other storm also that's intensifying up here in the central part of Van Buren County, so close to the Piney community. That's going to be where this is. This is going to move over toward, again, Fall Creek Falls, Mount Crest area of Bledsoe County, right back into Pikeville again, and up towards Melvine. So you guys will be next in line for this. And most of Spencer, at least downtown Spencer, is going to miss out on this. The heaviest is staying to your south. So if there were to be any pea-sized hail or anything like that, it would stay to your south by a good bit. Now the heaviest actually right now is this cell that's moving out of Ray into Meigs. This is actually going to head down towards Spring Creek and Riceville and even the Athens area itself here over the next 30 minutes, within the next 30 minutes. So heads up down that way. You got some heavy rain, some gusty winds, and perhaps some hail heading your way again. It's not large hail, thankfully. It's not big. It's small, but it is enough to where you kind of got to watch it there. So they'll be in your area again within the next 20 to 30 minutes there in McMinn County. So if you know anybody that's also traveling along I-75 in this area between Cleveland and Knoxville, just make sure they're very careful. And if they got to pull off the side of the road and let the thunderstorm pass over, they need to do so. So considering it's nighttime, that's another hazard that's in this. In addition to the blinding rain, not only that, you get the leaves that fall. It makes the road slick. A little. So yeah, it can create a little. It can create a big mess out there, especially on those roads. And then out here to the west, there's actually some more shower activity forming out here towards Cornersville. There's Lawrenceburg. So this is all going to eventually move east southeast. I know in Franklin County you've not gotten a drop yet, and I know Marion has not hardly had a drop either. Trust me, you'll get some. You'll get some rain out of this with time. It's just gonna take its time. I mean, it's gonna take its time getting there. And what I can do here also real quick is put on that HRRR model run, that HRRR. It's pretty reliable. Does a decent job. It's not perfect, but it does decent. And you'll see over the next few hours. So there we go. There's 10 o'clock. And you can see these thunderstorms will continue pushing south and east. And they'll be a little more scattered, it looks like, out here to the west. But as you see, and I can tell just by looking at this, it just doesn't look all that impressive. And then that just moves to the south. I mean, we'll probably see some reds in here occasionally, but it shouldn't be anything too dramatic. There's midnight Central Time. And watch what happens after midnight. This will move into North Georgia and then fade out as we get towards 1, 2 a.m. Central. That's 2, 3 a.m. Eastern. And then before sunrise, this is gone. Every bit of this is gone. And then tomorrow afternoon, those mainly south of Chattanooga may end up getting a few more additional thunderstorms. But even that is a slight chance, at least the way I'm seeing it as of tonight. So that's the way I'm seeing things on the forecast end of things, at least on that end. So let's check velocities here and make sure we're not seeing anything crazy on the wind scope. I think this is probably overdone over here. Yeah, that's overdone. There's no way that's 70 over there. There's no way. Especially with the way that radar beam's pointing. So, again, nothing really crazy over here, but you got some gusty winds here moving across Highway 58 there in Meigs County. That's moving into McMinn County. Not McMinnville, but McMinn County. That's Athens. And then over here to the west, some gusty winds. You can kind of see this little feature right here. Little learning point right here is this is actually what we call a little gust front right along the leading edge. So that right there is moving to the south and east. And you can get a pretty good tell of storm direction just by the way this is moving. So you see here, east-southeast. So as I said, that's going to clip northern Grundy. That's going to also clip northern Sequatchie County. And then move into southern Bledsoe. Just based on that path, at least that wind. And also some wind showing up here south of Spencer. And That's a pretty strong downburst showing up right there. So that would be producing some strong straight line wind with time. Now this is taking a little bit of time to load here, but you kind of get the idea. I mean, this is a pretty gnarly storm there. I mean, in Pikeville, you got more heavy rain moving in now. You're getting another break, but here comes more heavy rain. And now Manchester, I haven't had a chance to talk about you tonight, and that's actually a good thing. But you got some, but to reassure you that things are good, you got a thunderstorm moving in. It's going to be quite heavy, but you don't have anything to worry about there. So Manchester, if you're watching from there, you're good. I'll double check, make sure we don't have anything crazy on the velocity scan. No, that is an outflow dominant storm. So no tornado there, none of that. Heavy soaking rain with that thunderstorm. Wind may get a little gusty. That's it. Some lightning. That's it. That's it. Same thing here with this Warren Grundy County line storm around North Cuts Cove. Same thing applies there. Heavy rain, lightning, gusty wind, maybe some pea-sized hail at the most, but that's it. And you can pretty much copy and paste for every county up here. You can pretty much copy and paste the same for Van Buren. You can copy and paste for Bledsoe all the way over to Athens. I mean, you can pretty much copy and paste this whole northern area. Now, I do want to note there's also some more intensification happening down in Jackson County. Again, the air down in here hasn't been messed around with as much down here, so it's actually still a little unstable down there, so we'll have to watch this. But granted, it's weaker at the moment, but we got some heavy thunderstorms here moving across Grant, New Hope, Alabama, and all in Marshall County there in Madison, and all the way up into central Jackson. So Scottsboro, you're about to get in on this very soon. So Hollywood, Fackler, Stevenson area, some good rains up here, but nothing really dramatic. Looks like Higdon and Bryan is getting a pretty good downpour right now based off what I'm seeing here. That's going to move in the Dade. There's a downpour there approaching Ringgold around the Boynton area in that part of town. And then over here, Blue Ridge Mountains, nothing wild over here. Again, Franklin County dry, but looks like some showers are forming in Lynchburg. That's going to head out towards Estill Springs soon. So you may get a little rain out there. But instead, that's it. I mean, so far. That's the good thing. That's it. Let's check on these velocities in Jackson County to make sure we don't have anything crazy, because we all know very well this part of northeast Alabama is known for surprises. They're known for tornadic surprises in low-wind situations. So far, not seeing that. As you see here, you can kind of tell this bright green, it is a straight line. That means gusty wind, non-tornadic wind, probably in the 20 to 30 mile an hour range, moving towards Scottsboro, heading towards Langston, Grant area, and heading towards Section and Dutton, eventually heading out towards Rainsville and Sylvania and Henniger and out towards Northeast Alabama Community College. You guys will be next up to see this. So some heavy rain, gusty wind moving into those areas soon. So Jackson County, DeKalb County, Alabama. And then next up, you got Northwest Georgia. Now this is looking a little more, I'll be honest, this is actually looking a little more concerning out here towards Decatur, because it is trying to broadly spin now. So it is actually trying to do something. And now it's very broad, I want to point out, but it is trying to do something here as it crosses the Meigs-McMinn County border towards Athens. Now you don't have a formal warning on it, but you definitely got some strong winds, and up aloft there may be a little bit of spinning in that. So what I can do here is check the Knoxville, the Morristown radar, and it's actually seeing the same thing. So we got some very strong winds, and up at very high up at cloud top level, there's some little bit of rotation going on up here aloft. Now the thing is, you will not see it. That's the thing with these. It's nighttime, you're not going to see it. A lot of it's rain wrapped too. It's nothing too crazy, but we got to watch that carefully here and see it tightened up even more right there. So if you're in Athens, this is your heads up. We got to watch this here. This is moving right down Highway 30. So no formal warning on this, but you got a very strong area of a wind moving in your direction. Now I do believe that this 80 it's showing right here is a little extreme, but you know, this is definitely producing some strong wind. It's at least severe thunderstorm wind. That's moving right down the way towards Athens. So heads up in there, and also towards Nyota, Inglewood area. It's just something to watch here. So let's hang it here and see what this does. Because if it were to strengthen, we could have a warning issued on this of some kind. Now, what this is here, this is what I'm double checking to make sure we don't have any kind of like debris or anything. And thankfully, no. Now, this color would deem that to be a possibility because here in this, it's this blue color that you would normally see in a debris signature. But what I'm seeing here instead is this radar beam right here that's coming out of high top. So what that is, you can see right there, it shows. It's just the radar beam. So we wouldn't even be able to see it if there was anything there. So again, what I'll do here, I'll double check that. You see, it's a pretty broad rotation just based off storm relatives. So, but you can kind of see where the red and green meet right here. So basically about halfway between Athens and Decatur here in McMinn County. It's out of Meigs now. It's now McMinn County. And that's moving off something like this. So it's moving kind of due east. So Mount Verge just heads up there. Nyota heads up. Reagan heads up. And then out towards Englewood. And, of course, Athens proper. Again, something to watch. No tornado warning on it right now, but it's something that I'm watching because when you got a storm that's broadly spinning like that, you just got to keep an eye on it, make sure it doesn't do anything crazy. Let's check on these other storms here to the west. Make sure they're not doing anything sneaky either, and so far, no. I mean, they're trying to weakly spin a lot. Now, a lot of these storms are going to do this. I will say this because there is some shear aloft. Shear is actually peaking right now. So there's that possibility where some of these storms may try to tap a little bit into that up aloft and try to weakly or broadly spin. So there is that possibility. But again, very weak right now, nothing crazy. Mostly just gusty wind signatures. And this would actually be a pretty, again, look at that, 40 to 50 mile an hour wind they're showing up there between Beersheba and Spring Creek right there in the northern end of Grundy County. There where it says Dykes Mountain, that's where that's crossing. So it's a pretty strong wind there moving towards Cagle. So heads up around Cagle Mountain. You got some gusty wind moving in your direction. And it's moving there pretty quickly. I mean, it's going to be in there very soon. I mean, around 10 o'clock or excuse me, around 9 o'clock your time, possibly a little sooner. We'll have to wait and see on that with the timing. So heads up there. Heads up in southern Bledsoe County where you haven't seen anything yet, like Palo, Lusk, down towards Hendon. This was heading your way next. And again, Dunlap may get clipped by this based on the direction of movement here. You can see kind of east-southeast, so Dunlap's going to probably catch the southern end of this, at least the gusty wind portion, at least part of it. But at least right now, nothing too extreme. Again, Manchester, you're getting some very heavy rain. Same with Summitville right now. Tullahoma, you're pretty much good. I mean, you're good there. I mean, you don't have anything going there at the moment. I mean, you're still dry. Even though that's actually going to probably change because you got some showers out here to the west that are moving your way. And then again, still getting some intensification here across Jackson County and northern Marshall County of some heavy rain. Probably a little bit of lightning in here. If I turned the lightning indicator on, you probably would see that. But right in here, so basically lined up along 72 here is where we're seeing this corridor here of heavy rain and some lightning. Again, I just got in a new scan, so let's see what that little area near Athens looks like. Again, we don't have a velocity scan update just yet, but you kind of see here on this cell, and that's broadened a little bit, so that's good. So hopefully it continues to broaden and it stays more of a gusty wind, but we got to watch that little signature right here. Especially when you got red and green that close up like that, it's just something you got to watch. But at the moment, nothing extreme. So let's check on this out here to the west, make sure there's nothing there. Again, there's the new scan. Again, nothing crazy. But when you get into the bright reds and you get into the bright purples here, that's an indication of at least some 40 mile an hour wind, perhaps up to 50. But again, as long as we stay out of severe level here, we'll be good. So at the moment here, I'm not seeing anything anywhere else locally. Nothing in Marion County, nothing in Chat, nothing in Cleveland, at least right now. Could that change down the road? Yeah, I mean, it very well could. But hey, it'll come down the road. I mean, you'll get this rain and thunderstorm activity down the road here. So if you're wanting rain, you'll get it. So Spring City, you're pretty much on the back side of this now. I mean, you got this out here to the west, but looks like it's going to try to move a little bit more south of you. There's 10 Mile on the north side of this too. And there's that cell near Athens. It's definitely got some intensity to it there. Sweetwater is pretty much is in the heavy rain right now, but that's getting ready to move out of there soon. Smithville, you're pretty much done. So I can pretty much say once this backside here passes, back out here to the north, so you get up here towards I-40 in Nashville here, where it clears out. Once this backside clears out here, this is going to take all the rain with it, pretty much. So Smithville, you're pretty much about done with the rain at this point. You got a shower passing by, but that's nothing big. You're pretty much done with it. Center Hill Lake, check mark, good. Sparta, almost done. You're almost done in Sparta. You're almost done in McMinnville. But the severe threat's over for you. But you're about done. You got a couple more quick little rounds that should pass through within the next hour or two, and then you'll be done. Spencer, about the same thing there, so copy and paste. Copy and paste in Crossville, pretty much. So, good in those areas. Now, I'll check and see, make sure we don't have any, let's see if we don't have anything, not seeing anything debris-wise or anything crazy hail-wise there, and I'll check the vertically integrated liquid part. And the only thing I'm really seeing as far as hail's concerned right now, again, is this one crossing I-75 or approaching I-75 in McMinn County in the Athens area. That's the only one that I'm seeing that has big hail in it right now. It's not, actually, I should say just hail. But again, some small hail possible in that. Moving off to the east at about 40 to 45 miles an hour. Now, this is also picking up on a little bit of hail out here to the west. But again, this is really non-problematic. I mean, nothing crazy there against maybe some peat, a marble-sized stones in here. But that's about it. So nothing crazy there. Just some gusty thunderstorms in here. And then Shelbyville got some heavy rain. That's going to move into Coffee County again. But you notice back out here to the west, out towards Memphis and Jackson, clears out. In fact, that's a freeze watch out in Arkansas. And that's just a sign right there of what's to come as we get towards about 48 hours from now. That big cool down. What's wild about it, and I'll mention it, I'll make this real quick. What's wild about this cold snap moving in, it's a very strong one that's going to be moving in going into Monday and Tuesday. Wild thing is, by Wednesday and Thursday of next week, it's going to be back up into the 60s. So it's going to be but those 48 hours, from really late Sunday night through about Tuesday night or so, that 48 hours right there is going to be brutal as far as cold's concerned. And Monday's going to be blustery. I mean, it's going to be blustery on Monday. When you combine those temperatures, it's not going to feel like the 30s or 40. It's going to feel more like the teens and 20s on Monday. So that's just something you got to prepare for sure, because it's going to be a big shock to the system. Early next week. And yes, there is a chance, snow fans, of some flurries. Not a big deal. You may get a dusting on the plateau, maybe. But nothing that will shut down school. Nothing that will disrupt commutes. But it's just a signal, basically, of how cold it's going to get as we get in early next week. But we'll talk more about that tomorrow. But right now, we'll get back to action here. But I figured I'd mention that because I know I've been saying it probably about 1,000 times this week. About early next week, but I thought I'd make that quick mention here because I haven't had a chance to talk about it all day because we've been focused on this. But back to action here. So around Athens, very heavy rain moving in. The good news is that little broad circulation I was mentioning earlier, it's broadened out. It's broadening out. It's shearing out. That's a good sign. And what can happen actually with this? It can go for a few minutes, but considering the instability is very weak, and that was the limiting factor going into this, and is usually the limiting factor in most fall severe weather events, what can happen is when you have stronger shear that we have right now, the shear can actually, with time, rip the thunderstorm apart and just spread it out. So I believe that's what's happening here across McMinn County right now. I believe that's what's happening with this. So it may have tried to rotate for a little bit. It tried. What's happening here is that considering the instability so low, and then but you also have high shear. That shear is kind of ripping it apart a little. So and I can kind of tell by the structure, way the structure is changing here. You see, it's widening, and it's becoming more, spread out. So that's a good sign. So you got a very gusty thunderstorm. We'll just say a gusty storm, but it's nothing more than that. Maybe a little bit of hail, nothing crazy though. But let's get back up here to areas from Bledsoe all the way out to Coffee County. Again, this might cause a little bit of a flash flooding issue here from Viola to the north side of Cagle Mountain. So we'll have to watch that carefully considering we have some training there. We'll check the velocities. Again, this very bright area of red and pink right here, just some strong wind indications, no spinning, none of that. That's going to be moving east-southeast. So those of you towards Brush Creek, Dunlap area, this is going to eventually head your way. It's just going to take time. If this doesn't move in, then you'll probably get stuff out here towards Shelbyville. So all this rain you see out here, if you end up missing out on this, just north, this back out here is going to make it out there. But the good thing here is, and I've looked at the advisories and everything, we have nothing out there at this time. So with that said, since we do not have any kind of warnings or anything like that at the moment, no tornado warnings, none of that stuff right now, and that Selling Athens is continuing to broaden out and weaken, I'm going to go ahead and sign off here for now. And of course, I'll mostly stick to the written updates here going forward as long as we don't get any tornado warnings or anything. So I figured I'd come on here to touch base for about an hour here, as long as nothing else turns severe, just to let y'all know that, hey, we're good as far as things go. So far so good through the first several hours here. We haven't had anything crazy that's happened, at least so far. And these thunderstorms continue to stay below severe levels, and hopefully, fingers crossed, they'll stay that way for the remainder of the night here. And as I said, after midnight, things should start wrapping up. And again, as I said here, stay tuned for further updates here, and I'll be posting them on and off here for the next few hours as this cold front here gets closer and closer. This first front, that is, it gets closer and closer. So with that said here, I hope you guys have a good evening, and stay tuned for further updates. I should have another one up out here in about 30 minutes to an hour or so. So I'll see you then for a written update.